Find Central Pitside, brought to you by Edgechem, AIM Financial Corporation, Texaco, and Connex.
It's Wednesday, November 13, 2024. This is CVM News at noon. I'm Ramon Gordon. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is standing firm, hitting back at critics over his government's handling of Jamaica's road infrastructure. Speaking passionately in Parliament on Tuesday, Holness called out decades of neglect and took a sharp jab at the opposition.
It's one thing to come and make a political point about roads. It is another thing to be able to do something about it. Mr. Speaker, we have seen politicians come and pontificate and make promises about roads, pothole-free by 2003. Mr. Speaker, we are here in 2024, and the people who made that promise then are the same people who are coming now to complain. Why did they make Jamaica pothole-free in 2003? Why? You know why, Mr. Speaker? Because they did not create the economy to do it. And what they do now is to go around and play upon people's frustration without looking at exactly what needs to be done. Well, this administration, Mr. Speaker, knows exactly what needs to be done.
Recent rains from Tropical Storm Raphael have ignited a fresh wave of criticism, as at least 58 roads across Jamaica were severely impacted by landslides, mudflows, fallen trees and flooding. St. Catherine took the hardest hit, with widespread flooding and blocked roads. Preliminary damage estimates have reached a staggering $647 million, with $311 million earmarked for immediate road clearance and repairs.
No special allocation has been made, as various pools of funds have already been allocated. Members of Parliament are therefore advised to prudently use the funds to maximize value and impact. The Ministry of Local Government and the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management are already on the ground providing support to affected residents. Our legacy infrastructure was never designed to handle the intensity of today's climate events. In addition, waste management poses a significant challenge as garbage and debris continue to clog our culverts and exacerbate flooding. Thus, while the government is investing in better infrastructure, we also need to make parallel progress in our behavior.
And opposition spokesperson on tourism and linkages, Senator Janice Allen, has expressed deep concern following Tuesday's strike by hotel workers at Breathless and Secrets resorts. The senator emphasized that while tourism remains a critical pillar of Jamaica's economy, the industry's success cannot come at the expense of its workers. Allen cited a number of concerns that appear central to the workers' complaints.
Industry. What we see here and some of the concerns raised are important concerns that must be heard. And I look forward to having the discussion with management as to the urgency with which they're going to address these concerns. Some of them include the calculation of their, not incentive, but calculation of their commission in terms of some of the services that they provide, whether it's in the spa or elsewhere. And just generally contract work seems to be a constant issue. In terms of, there are people who are saying that there are people here for 13 years, 16 years on regular contract, year in, year out, and this will make it impossible for them to do business outside because of not having security of tenure.
The senator reaffirmed the need for a balanced approach to tourism development, one that prioritizes the welfare of workers while maintaining the sector's profitability and sustainability. She called for the Ministry of Tourism to engage with workers, unions and hotel management to resolve the immediate crisis and establish mechanisms to prevent further occurrences.
The Minister of Tourism has a responsibility to ensure that the focus is not just on investors and constant addition of hotel rooms, but on creating fair conditions for the workers who sustain this industry. At this rate, as I said today, we won't have willing people to work in these many hotels that are coming on stream. Jamaica's tourism success depends on these workers, and it's time we put them first. The opposition stands with them, and I continue to fight for their rights.
Despite some school closures in western parishes, hand, foot and mouth disease does not pose a major health risk, according to the health officials. Health Ministry officials maintain the virus caused by close contact among children can be treated within a week. Courtney Lewis tells us more.
Health officials in St. James are cauterizing panic surrounding hand, foot and mouth disease, a virus that causes rashes on the mouth, palms and feet among young children. Francine Phillips Kelly, medical officer, says while cases of the virus have increased in the West, case numbers are not astronomical.
We have had one or two schools where we had several cases and had to do investigations. So a cluster of cases, maybe 10 or more, we tend to want to do an investigation to find out what's happening. But the ones that we've investigated, we have not found that students were from the same community or even from the same household. It was just that they would have met in the classroom, and that's where we consider that the transmission would have occurred.
But the virus is highly contagious, especially for young children, often prone to physical interaction.
Usually the recommendation is keep the child home, the area where they would have been, their toys, their play area and so on, those need to be properly sanitized. And the sanitization needs to be done between toys. So children who are sharing toys, if a child uses it today, then at the end of the day, that sanitization should be done so that the one who uses it tomorrow will not have anything residual that they can pick up.
She maintains caregivers should be vigilant in cleaning tools, toys, and play areas.
In terms of it becoming a serious condition, hand, foot, and mouth never is that serious, really self-limiting. Once they are away from the source, some will have fever. We usually do treat with antipyretics, and we treat if the rash is itchy, we treat with the appropriate agent to prevent that scratching. But within a week or so, they would usually resolve quite well.
Courtney Lewis for CVM News.
Indicom boss Hugh Faulkner asserts that body-worn cameras are vital for critical court investigations, countering the security minister's recent claims that the cameras have very little value.
The body-worn camera is like a neutral party capturing an event. It is void of human bias. It is void of human embellishment. It is void of selective recollection. All these, with the human witness, we're human beings, can taint an investigation or make it incomplete.
The commissioner suggested that body-worn cameras should be mandated.
Well, I couldn't say I'm satisfied, George, or the commission. We would wish that the process would have advanced a bit hastier. But in terms of the mandatory use, force orders, etc., could make it a mandatory process rather than, discretionary.
It's now time for a quick break. Our discussion segment is next.
Toner cartridges. Global Ink is now selling new factory direct generic toners. Remove factory seals, install and print. Engineered to work first time, every time. Certified for use in HP and Brother printers. Worry-free, affordable printing for your peace of mind. Money saved is money earned. We deliver island-wide. 754-7444 or 1-888-NEED Ink. Never run out of toner again. Global Ink.
Turn your dreams into reality with the Overseas Examinations Commission. Take the next step towards success. Register as a private candidate for June 2025 CXC exams. Complete our e-application form via our website, overseasexams.org.jm. Take the completed form to our office in Kingston or Montego Bay. Payments accepted via debit or credit card only. Deadline Friday, November 29, 2024. Call us today at 876-618-3721. Follow us on social media at Overseas Exams, the OEC, Jamaica's Examinations Hub.
Our days get a little complex sometimes. Often so many things make sense, yet so many do not. We are being intentional about giving prominence to the big stories in order to clarify and enlighten. Lead Story explains who, what, when, where, why, and how. Lead Story with George Davis, weekdays at 6:30 p.m. on CVM TV.
Welcome back. It's time for our discussion segment. The Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, JCTU, is calling for immediate action to improve working conditions in the hotel sector. With recent strikes at major resorts highlighting issues of overwork and underpayment, the JCTU is advocating for a joint industrial council to address these concerns. Joining us now is JCTU President St. Patrice Ennis. Mr. Ennis, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, the strikes at Royalton and Secrets have brought a lot of attention to hotel working conditions. Can you share some of the main issues that workers are facing, you'd say?
Well, the issues are many, as has been highlighted publicly of recent times. Not only is the compensation a problem, the terms of their tenure is a problem, the working condition is a problem. The myriad issues facing the workers. They do not have a voice in terms of their working conditions. Nobody speaks to them, and these stopgap measures that are being put in place will not solve the problem in the long run. As an issue arises, then we have an intervention either on the part of the government or on the part of the owners or the stakeholders. But what really needs to happen is a long-term solution where the workers have a voice together with their representatives and the owners, and they sit down and can plan out what sort of conditions workers should be under, what is in the best interest of the owners and also the tourists that comes here. It is too valuable and vital an industry to be faced with this constant upheaval as we are experiencing, particularly at a time when the industry is not performing as it normally does.
Mr. Ennis, I feel like we have these conversations ever so often. Wouldn't you agree? Why do you believe that these problems are so persistent in the sector? Is it just about wages, or are there any deeper issues?
No, it is not just about wages. It is the terms and conditions of employment. As you're aware, many of these workers are on fixed-term contracts. They cannot plan properly. The conditions of work, they're working without properly compensated for overtime, the long hours, the rationing of meals, and the problems are plenty. The solution is to have the workers properly organized, and so that they are in constant dialogue with the owners, with their managers as to the conditions that face them. And they have a voice to be able to say, look, this is what is required. The owners state what is required, and people sit down using the collective bargaining process, which should be a fundamental right of the workers to resolve the issues as we do in other places. That is what is lacking. That is what we are calling on, that the stakeholders get together with the union representative, and we set up what is called a joint industrial council, having all parties at the table, and we come up with real solutions instead of what I am calling these stopgap measures, because the problem that obtains at the Royalton, which was a few weeks ago, and now at Secrets, is not peculiar to these entities only. They are sector-wide, and what we fear is that other hotels will start reacting in the same manner, where we have constant industrial strife while we are beginning the start of the tourist season.
Very well. Mr. President, let's talk about organizing then. The JCTU is proposing a joint industrial council, like you've said. How would this council help address the current challenges faced by hotel workers?
Well, the council would have the workers' representatives. It would have a representative of the owners, and the government would have a seat at the table, probably through the Jamaica Tourist Board or whichever organ it sees fit. And you will have this tripartite arrangement. And so when you have, and this is something that obtains already in the construction industry, it obtains in the sugar industry, so we know the mechanism under which this will work. The parties sit together, the parties develop their own parameters, how they'll operate, and before any form of industrial strife, the government is at the table with their mechanism in terms of intervening at any time. So these are tried, proven method, and all we are doing is recommending a similar path for the hotel sector, where all the parties hands are tied together, and so there will be nobody coming out with an advantage over the other, and that is what we are recommending at this juncture.
Mr. President, I don't think anybody will disagree that the hotel industry is critical to Jamaica's economy. How can we then balance the need for a strong tourism sector with the need for fair and equitable conditions for its workers?
Well, one other thing that we need to understand is the role of the workers in the sector as an important stakeholder, because when we are beginning to set up the hotels and by extension the hotel sector, the government talk to the investors, they talk to the owners and so on, but nobody talks on behalf of the workers. Where are they going to live? In other countries, when these things are happening, at the very outset, for example, in Costa Rica, we think about where the workers are going to be domiciled. This is not happening in the hotels industry or the hotel sector. So what you find is that in many areas where hotels are located, there's a large squatter settlement and so on. And then because we are not discussing everything, we must let these persons understand what is normal in Jamaica in terms of workers' representation. And we must put the people at the front, or the workers at the front. And when we do that, we recognize that that is not antithetical to making a profit. We recognize that these things happening in other countries. We recognize that these things happening in other industry where the labor can cooperate with capital and government and to have a profitable industry. But from the very beginning, the workers' condition and the workers' agenda must be at the outset, together with the owners and together with the interests of the government, not at the back end, as we are now doing in terms of trying to solve the problem. And if we do that each and every time we are going to have an investor coming to Jamaica, then we would do much to abate some of the very issues we are now faced with.
Mr. Ennis, you said something very curious a while ago, and I'd like to probe it further. You said that near a lot of these hotel developments, they're now squatter settlements. Speak to us a little about that and give us some more context, if you will.
Well, if we look at St. Anne and we look at Montego Bay, those are some of our premier industries. When workers have to be imported from all sectors of the society. Many after construction remain in these communities. We look and we see that because of the security of tenure, many of the workers in the hotel industries are not qualified for housing through the National Housing Trust. They are not qualified for loans because of their tenure and the uncertainty with regard to it. And so we find that not only because of the low amount or their low compensation, but because of the insecurity of their tenure, they are unable to secure what is needed to have a place of abode. And so we find that in these communities, you have these many squatter settlements, many unregulated settlements,